Welcome to Citizen Sleeper. Citizen Sleeper is about role-playing in the ruins of interplanetary capitalism. So you live the life of an escaped worker washed up on a lawless station in space at the edge of an interstellar society. We choose our friends, escape our past, and change our future. At the beginning, you wake up in a cold box, or a container, rather, and we're given two decisions. Try and remember how we got there, or forget about it and just focus on where we're going. We choose to focus on where we're going. Which means there is no knowledge of how we got here in this container, where or what we are escaping from, and why we feel we need to escape in the first place. The container is described as 4 steel walls. That's all we get. And we've been faced with sub-zero temperatures. Well, it's finally opened by this pragmatic and private salvager named Dragos. Or Dragos. We're going to say Dragos. And he says, "Never seen one of you come in like this. New frames must have better perseverance in sub-zero vac. Seen more than a few of you frozen solid to hull plates or inside outer locks in my time. They weren't so lucky." So it's evident we aren't the first escapees he's discovered. So wherever we come from, people, or at least sleepers, will find out what a sleeper is later. They don't want to be there. So this space station is something like a refugee camp, or more accurately, a place or nation where there are refugees coming to escape their homeland, where things aren't so amiable. And that's pretty accurate to the times we live in and what we see of people searching for better circumstances, a better environment. As a salvager, Dragos works in this yard, and from my understanding, it's where ships or any sort of scrap that they can get their hands on comes, and they salvage what they can to sell or make things that they can use to increase their quality of life. So Dragos gives me some things to live on, pillow, makeshift bed. In order to repay Dragos, I go to work. I don't argue. I make the choices that, let's go to work. There was an option for that you can choose to ask questions about why you're supposed to work, but we just decided to go along with it. Well, we arrive into a buzz of activity at the yard. Red blinking lights flash across a vast dark shape suspended below this huge dome of the yard. They flicker across scorched hull plates and bent structures, spilling from holes in this twisted, mangled shape. There's a cutter that is huge and has been torn apart in some violent encounter. This is where we're going to spend our cycles, analogous to days, working to repay Dragos and figure out where it is we're going to go. But as with anything, we have a problem. we are flickering. This body of ours is a synthetic body, and it needs to be held under maintenance. Otherwise, it decays over time. So we're about to die. Our body's dying. We have escaped, but our body's dying on this new spaceship. There's a doctor that we have to go find. And eventually I find this doctor. Doctor is by the name of Sabine in this, what's called the Bright Market, in this section of the ship where there are apartments. And she has a little office area with a line of people leading up to an apartment. And it's from Sabine I get this information. She says, your body is dying. And they say it without ceremony, without drama, but not without empathy. SNARP doesn't like to see its proprietary technology let loose. To prevent bodies like yours, frames, as they call them, from being stolen, repurposed, or in your case, escaping, they built in a process of so-called planned obsolescence. So here, SNARP is this corporation that is responsible for making these bodies. I'm assuming they are worker type bodies, but they're called frames. And as a way to protect its property, they've built in planned obsolescence. This is interesting. I was watching a podcast, and the host had a college professor who used to work for GM. And he said they would go through these tests where they would know how long it would take for a part to break. And so it's this idea of something being planned to become obsolete and you needing to replace it. So let's think about this. If we had a market that had the opportunity to create these products that just don't break once you buy them eventually, assuming all people on the planet go to buy this item, once they get through the billions and billions of people, there's really no need to buy anything new. Unless you simply want something new, but you don't have to buy replacement parts or have to buy so many replacement parts for an item that you just get a new laptop or a new car. So it's interesting, this theme of planned obsolescence, planning for something to need to be replaced in order to guarantee, there's probably some sort of psychology in there as well, that we continue to buy back into this item or this company or this brand because you have to. There's no alternative choice. Isn't that interesting? Planned obsolescence. I'm curious what some of you think about that idea, that concept. Sabine says, she goes on to say, after I say, I'm sorry, or she says, I'm sorry to me, my apologies. And she goes on to say, emulations like you, sleepers as most people know you, aren't classified as people in any of the surrogate systems. You have no rights, no status. She focuses hard on expecting my arm at this point in time, and SNARP has no reason to release stabilizer into the market. You can think of stabilizer as this substance. I imagine it being gold. I don't know why. But this golden substance in a syringe or vial that you inject into your system. And it revives and replenishes your body. In this case, emulations. I'm inferring at this point that a sleeper or emulation is almost like a AI body where someone has decided to take their mind, their consciousness, and throw away or do away with, forsake their original human body, and go into this animatronic AI emulation. This body that is controlled by the corporation we're hearing about now, SNARP. We don't know what our reasons were, however, or what someone might have to do this. And there seems to be some sort of obligation they're supposed to fulfill that now people, the sleepers, are trying to escape from. And pretty often than not, they're landing on this exact station. Because as Dragos has told us, we're not the first he has seen. So we are stabilized for now, but we're going to need more of this stuff. And Sabine doesn't have any more. Now, obviously, we can't just roll up to SNARP and say, hey, I ran away, I escaped, but I need some stabilizer. It's like escaping from the jail and going back to the jailhouse saying, oh, I left my watch. Can you give that to me? They're locking you back up, right? However, she knows a black market group. I think it's called Yakuza, but we'll check that when we get to that point. And they might be able to get her enough stabilizer to keep me going for a bit. I, however, need to find some sort of information on them that she needs. I'm assuming that she has struck a deal with them and she wants to get out of said deal, and so my job is to find some sort of information about them that she can use to then give me some stabilizer. Is this true? We don't know, but we are plucking at straws right now. So we agree and we leave. We have a few cycles, several, before we begin to die again. On top of that, we do need to eat. So when we leave Sabine, we're going down to the market to get some food. And there we will meet a very cool, calm, and collected character that gives us some really human interaction. Welcome to Citizen Sleeper.